Hey everybody, and Happy New Year. This is D Amazing here, bringing you a review of the Figma Mark 42 and Mark 43. Now, I just want to let you guys know, the reason why I'm doing them both at the same time is because literally, Figma all they did was do a paint swap, just like with SHF. They didn't give you any new accessories, and since they released them at the same time, why not do it at the same time, right? So let's get started. First and foremost, I want to start by saying I am absolutely disappointed in this figure in every which way possible. I just want to put that out there. And it's very difficult to kind of get over it, but I'm going to show you why. Mostly because the figure looks good until you realize all the prototype images, this is not the proper color. And it's hard to tell in camera, but this is not gold at all. This is actually like a champagne silver or titanium silver. It's not gold at all. He's not the red and gold Armored Avenger. It's just doesn't work for me. Now, as far as the figure goes, it looks okay. It looks decent. There's nothing wrong with it. With the exception that I don't like this waist issue here. But that's the thing I deal with all the time in Figma. This is nothing new. This is something I personally do not like. I find it very annoying, especially because with this figure, in terms of articulation, with the waist area, I just don't like the way it's flimsy. When you're doing pictures or you want to pose, this being flimsy is just really just not a big fan of it. And it holds up not very well when you're trying to do crouching poses. So as you can see, it's kind of just all over the place. One thing I will say about it though, it does have nice articulation. It's one of those things where Figma actually did a good job of putting in the articulation in the proper areas, and it allows you to just get the best mobility you could possibly get out of an Iron Man figure. In my opinion, not better than the SHF, but still pretty good. As you can see, you can crouch down and do stuff. The other issue I have with being is that because of the waist area, the figure is really flimsy. As you can do, he can do Lulu, skip to Malou, but in the waist area, this Iron Man fails. It looks cool, but again, cannot hold a pose. Quite disappointing. Now, as far as the arms go, they did a nice thing of adding the shoulder pads to the arms, but there's no pull-out. Sorry, that sounds terrible. But there's no pulling out of the arm mechanism that allows you to get the maximum mobility, so his arms just look short and stumpy at the shoulders. But overall, though, it does look good standing still, but that's just about it. There's plenty of angle pivot. There's plenty of articulation. The problem is they falter too hard in the paint apps and the waist area. It's just one of those things where it just doesn't come together all around. Now, because of this, I can't enjoy this figure. It's just not good for me. Barely standing. It has the ankle pivot, but because it can't even support its own weight in its back, it's just a flimsy doodah. So the problem main being is that between the waist issue, the back issue, the lack of stability, and the paint apps, it's just overall the price point that you pay, you just don't get what it's worth. You just don't. You get these amount of hands, so you get one holded hand, you get the open palms, you get the repulsor blast palms, and you get flight palms. This is great if you want it, but again, if I'm gonna pay $80 for something that can't stand, it's like, why? And then we're gonna go on to the Mark 43 very quickly. Now, the Mark 43 is the exact same thing, except doesn't really have the waist issue. So how is it that you release the same figure, but no waist issue? It's sort of like the Mark 42 and the Mark 43 for SHF. It had that pad issue with the hands for the Mark 42, but then it just didn't have it for the 43. So I can understand how it goes from piece to piece, but this one doesn't have any real issue, with the exception that the paint job is terrible. It's a dull red, it's a dull gold, and I don't even like showing off boxes, but this is going to be my one exception. Compared to what's shown on the box and what you get here, you didn't get what you paid for, especially because this one is a limited release in terms of Figma. So for this to be a limited release and if you get a dull red and a dull gold, and not this metallic paint job that we were promised, it's just a pain. This is one of those times where I'm going to write a review. I mean, not write, but I'm going to do a review and it's going to seem like I'm completely bashing the figure. That's because I am. I'm just not. Nothing about this figure is absolutely redeeming to me at all. So again, same set of hands, same set of effect parts for the Mark 42 and the Mark 43. And you get a Figma stand. Now for all of this, for this one which you've probably paid $100 for, and this one which you've paid $80 for, you just don't get it. Now, honestly, I'm going to push those down and go, this is what you should have bought. This is what you should have bought. These are not good toys. Figma just didn't do a good job. They didn't. There was all this promise of a good figure, and we got absolutely nothing. If you're thinking about buying this, I would strongly recommend you don't. If you're a Figma fan or Iron Man fan, you feel like you absolutely have to have it, sure, go for it. But me personally, this figure's a failure. And that's really what I have to say about it. I'm probably not even going to take pictures of it because it's just all around a failure to me. I just don't know. This is not the best rendition. If you want, you can probably even go better with Comic Cave, Play Imaginative, SHF. This, at this point, is an overpriced, glorified Marvel Legend. So there, you have it. This is The Amazing. I'm sorry to sound so negative, but please keep your hearts full, and I hope that you enjoyed this review and you got the best of it. Thank you. Have a good night, guys.